Peter Villiers from IVSA. I move to take the Vetbooks for Africa MOU pending approval of the table.
Any discussion on taking it off the table and onto the floor? Any objections? Hearing none, we're back to discussing approving the Vetbooks for Africa MOU. Are there any questions, comments, amendments, maybe? Any?
Thomas? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Anita Rodon, IVSA South Africa. I move to amend the MOU to add point number 10 under section 2 responsibilities of Vetbooks for Africa, saying Vetbooks for Africa must have an established portfolio called IVSA Liaison. The committee member holding this portfolio must be in communication with the designated IVSA South African board member. Must have an established portfolio called IVSA Liaison. This committee member, the committee member in the holding this portfolio.
This committee member.
Oh, sorry. The committee member holding this portfolio must be in communication with the designated IVSA South African board member. Okay. So just to explain why we would like to add this.
Don't discuss it, you just made the motion. Do I have it written correctly though? Will you all settle down? Okay, now is it written? Okay, is there a second? Any discussion on the motion? It's your motion, so you can speak first.
Okay, so I'm going to run IVSA South Africa. The reason why we'd like to add this responsibility to Vetbooks for Africa is that there was some confusions in the past regarding the relationship between IVSA and Vetbooks for Africa. For example, that the newly elected committee of Vetbooks for Africa for the term 2019-2020 did not know about the previously signed MOUs or relationships between Vetbooks for Africa and IVSA, and we would like to prevent any further confusion.
Thank you. Any other comments on the amendment to the MOU? Megan.
Megan Corvius from IVSA
IVSA staff, you can do it.
IVSA SABMA. I want to ask a question about about the election officials for BBFA, why they weren't aware of things, they're supposed to be in contact with the MOD.
Okay, thank you. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet that wants to speak? Gus?
Hi, Bagus Satria from IVSA Indonesia. I want more explanation on the portfolio of IVSA liaison. I want to know what's in it, what must be written, and what should be in it, basically.
Okay, thank you. Sure. Yeah, you can't just talk to me, not come. Yeah, you're good.
Shira Sampson, IVSA South Africa. So what we propose with this portfolio is that the person elected on the Vetbooks for Africa committee that gets this portfolio needs to be in contact with our IVSA South Africa board so that we can ensure to regulate what they're saying about IVSA and that they're informed. They're not just saying, oh, there's an organization for veterinary students, but they're actually creating something where these African countries can form their own MOs and not just say like, okay, well, we're vet books, but on the side note, there's IVSA. It's just so that there's more, sorry. It's just so that there's more of a, I don't know what the word is, set in concrete that IVSA is actually getting something out of this.
Okay, thank you. Charlotte?
Charlotte Cloudy, IVSA Exco. Oh, to you, I'm sorry. Hi, Barry. So I just want to have 2 questions. So I want to know what exactly the difference would be if it's a board member from the South African MO or an IVSA member that is personally informed by the MOD directly, that has contact with the MOD. Is or it's more of a concern that the contact will be mostly between the South African MO and the Vet Books for Africa through that board member, instead of with the MOD, which is our main goal and of most important at this stage of our cooperation with Vet Books for Africa. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going with my IVSA South Africa. I think what I want to add to Shira's point as well, and to also just elaborate on that, it is very important, I think, for this liaison person to be in contact with the MOD, with your MOD or dad, with IVSA Global directly. The reason why we want to add this position to be in communication with the IVSA South Africa as well is, for example, even though we want a person to stand for Vet Books for Africa to know, okay, that there is an IVSA liaison position. The reason for that is we want to prevent confusion of them, the newly elected committee, to not, we want to prevent them to not know about the relationship between IVSA and Vet Books for Africa. That's what happened next year. To answer your question as well, Megan, is we don't know why they did not know about it. I don't think like nobody told them. And if you're standing for a position on Vet Books for Africa and you know there's an IVSA liaison person, you would immediately know, okay, that we have a partnership with this organization. And the other reason why we would like Vet Books for Africa also to be in direct communication with IVSA South Africa is what happened on this Congress is because one of our delegates contacted a member of the Vet Books for Africa committee member, telling them this, and I was on your website and I saw that IVSA is actually a partner with you guys, and she was like, oh, I did not know that. And 2 days later they contacted the delegate and asked, okay, so by the way, IVSA is organizing books for you guys to bring a book, and they were like, okay, what? So there's a lot of confusion going on between Vet Books for Africa and IVSA South Africa, and I think this position will check that right.
Thank you, Jenna.
Jenna Robinson, IVSA South Africa. I think this does kind of touch on some of the questions that have been asked as well. But I think from what I can understand that there is a really nice communication chain between the MOD and Vet Books, their committee. But I think it's a bit more from IVSA South Africa that we're feeling like we are kind of going for the same goal in certain ways as Vet Books, in terms of we want to reach out to Africa, we want to reach out to those MOs and try and help them become a better part of South Africa, of IVSA. So I think it would be beneficial for both IVSA and Vet Books to have a local link so that, I mean, if we can answer a question that they have, we can also help them get into contact with the MODs. Maybe they are a little bit confused on that, and we can help establish a relationship with the MODs even further as we're on a local level.
Thank you, Kylie.
kind of small IVSA SATMA, can our current MOD speak to the communications that have happened in the past currently? And is there actually open lines of communication with Vetbooks for Africa right now?
Vichy.
So,
Vichy.
sorry. No, there wasn't any sort of communication officially through the email chain. I was in contact with one of the committee members over WhatsApp, and I asked a few times for a list of names and reps from each country, and I was promised them and did not receive those. So the MOU was not fulfilled.
Thank you. Peter.
So since I've been part of the Vetbooks Africa team in 2016 and been part of this official secretariat to ERO and then ERO, most of the communication has basically gone through me in terms of Vetbooks Africa and IVSA as well as Charlotte. So we didn't go through the MOD as such. Most of the information got channeled through Charlotte and I. So I just want to add that.
Sarah.
Yeah, Meryl Knops, IVSA in Belgium. I had a question. Who's going to be responsible for making the portfolio? That should be.
Thank you, Monica.
Yeah, I think they're going to IVSA South Africa. That would be responsibility of the chairperson of Vetbooks Africa.
Technically, if someone else needs to speak first, but everyone's already spoken, so Meryl, go.
Then Meryl Knops, IVSA in Belgium. Sorry, Charlotte. Then shouldn't the making of the portfolio be included in the MOU as well? Maybe under responsibilities of IVSA as point 10 as well. Should I start formulating it, or is someone else on it right now?
I don't know.
All right.
Thank you. Charlotte. Why are you so upset?
Thank you, Perry. Okay, Charlotte, she was cloudy, IVSA Exco. I'll have a few things written on my hand right now. So one of the questions is, does IVSA South Africa want to create an extra board member to do this job, or does the board member have enough time to keep on this communication on a high level? And then we need more clarification about the structure, and your concerns were mostly about that the communication structure needed to be improved. And I just forgot my point about the structure. Sorry. But I'm a little bit worried about the structure being more like, if you want the structure between your MO and Vetbooks for Africa to get more similar projects together, I don't think this should be in our global MOU. I think you should set up an own contract with that, and don't do that in an MOU like this. And then, yeah, I just think it's vigorous and gonna complicate it a bit more. And at this point, as Peter already said, the communication went through us, and we asked Tavici for all the information we needed. And the other way around, she asked us to ask them about information, and that is why we put it in here, because we want one person to be directly in contact with her, like one communication stream, and not an extra individual or an MO involved in this particular field. So if you want to be involved on another field, you should have an own contract about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? Anyone who hasn't spoken already? Kirsten, get up there.
Kirsten, I'm IVSA Austria. Sorry, I did not really understand why the chairperson of Vetbooks for Africa has to write that portfolio if we are currently worried that they don't know enough about IVSA. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Shira, go for it.
Sherry Sampson, IVSA South Africa. Just to answer Kristen's question. Oh yes. Can you just ask your question again?
She was asking, you can ask me what the question was.
Please repeat the
She
question.
was asking why the portfolio would be written by the chairperson of the Vet Books for Africa board if we're already worried they don't know about IVSA.
So we originally proposed that we created a position on the Vet Books for Africa committee that automatically goes to a member of the IVSA South Africa. However, concerns were raised that by doing that, we're taking away the number of positions available to other vet students at our university. So instead we say that we have this portfolio, and how it works with Vet Books for Africa is that the previous committee chooses the new committee, which amongst themselves elects a chairperson, and that chairperson distributes the portfolios to the rest of the committee. So in creating this portfolio, we're making sure that the IVSA liaison is still informed about IVSA. So they're not just going to go and talk about IVSA, they're going to talk to our MO so we can educate them about what IVSA stands for and what our duty is.
Thank you. Shanna?
Jenna Robertson, IVSA South Africa. To answer Sean's question about the member on IVSA, that will they have time and will they be able to handle this commitment? We currently have a position on within our MO that is called the Exchange Officer Africa, and it is specifically to help create new contacts and exchanges within Africa. It is still in its infant stage, but I think that this would really help. It can form part of that portfolio. So to answer, yes, we can involve that.
Thank you. Charlotte?
Charlotte Cloudy, IVSA expert. I need to turn my back to you, I'm sorry. So just to get clear, you want a liaison person that will be in contact with the MO, or you want a board member now that would track? Like, that's unclear to me right now.
I think it's written as a liaison
Yeah.
to the board, not a board member.
Okay.
So I think that should answer it.
Ready.
Any more questions or comments about the amendment to the MOU? Megan? Remember, only talk about the amendment. Go for it, Megan, you can do it.
Okay. Megan Corbius, IVSA Statman. I still don't understand why this liaison is needed when the MOD communication between her and the Vet Books for Africa hasn't been filled. Maybe that's the real issue here, not the need for another liaison. It's just the need for MOU to be fulfilled.
Okay, thank you, Anika.
Okay, Enrico Regano, IVSA South Africa. To answer your question, as Peter said previously, until up to now, he was part of both Vet Books for Africa and IVSA. So the communication link was there and it was easy. Whereas since this year ongoing, there is not a person on Vet Books for Africa directly linked to IVSA Global. And we want to ensure that the communication and Vet Books for Africa knowing what IVSA Global is about, that there is a new link for them to be more informed about event. Does that make sense? So we want to make sure that there is a person there will always be a portfolio that will ensure that there is a good link between Vet Books for Africa and IVSA, because even though Vet Books for Africa needs to communicate to the MOD of IVSA Global, that is unclear. And an example of that happened this year, so we want to prevent that from happening again.
Okay, thank you. I think that if you read the amendment, it's pretty clear about what the goal is, and it is not talking about the MOD at all. It's talking about IVSA South Africa, the Books for Africa Committee. So let's try to focus the discussion on what the amendment really says, and not interpretations of it. Okay, Kirsten.
Because Abraham, IVSA Austria. So did I get just clarification? Did I get that right? This portfolio is written every year for the new committee, and so every year we would make a new portfolio about what IVSA is doing, basically.
The answer was yes. Charlotte.
Charlotte Gliding, IVSA Exco. I move to make an amendment to the amendment.
To give you the amendment.
So the amendment to the amendment would be after designated IVSA South Africa board member and MOD. I think that solves it.
Is there a second? Okay, hold on a second. We're just talking about the part that's in bold. Daniel.
Daniel, on IVSA Exco, when the amendment, it should say the MOD.
Anything else about the bolded amendment to the amendment? IVSA South Africa, you like this amendment to the amendment? Any comments? Glenn?
Energy, IVSA Ghana. So what's the difference between the IVSA South Africa board member and the MOD? Because from what I'm understanding right now, the IVSA South Africa board member is supposed to be like a link between the liaison and IVSA Global, right? And so the responsibilities of IVSA in that part also talks about the MOD following up on the students. So right now there's some confusion right now.
Anika.
Okay, just to clarify that, the IVSA South African board member would be a member of the South African MO, and the MOD will be the MOD of Exco. It's two different people, if you understand.
You can't talk to him, Anika. Sorry.
Doesn't make sense.
Thank you. Jenna.
Jenna Robinson, IVSA South Africa. Just to kind of add to what you said there, we feel like this, to help you explain what's happening, we feel like from our side, South Africa can help with the regionalization, where kind of Africa helps Africa by having this extra person and adding the MOD to this amendment is, we're really happy with that.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments on the amendment to the amendment? Just what's in bold. Any objections to the amendment to the amendment? Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, so now that is the motion on the table. Are there any comments on what is bolded? No.
Mayor Knobs, IVSA again, Belgium. I want to make an amendment to the amendment.
You're gonna just have to say, I move.
I move to make an amendment to the amendment. And my amendment is to add following sentence after and the MOD dot. The chair of Books for Africa will be responsible for making this portfolio annually and distributing it amongst its members.
Right, correctly.
Yes.
Is there a second? Okay. Pause. Only discussing what's involved. Sure, you talk a lot. No.
Fatima Mayet, IVSA South Africa. I move to make an amendment to the amendment and a friendly amendment and alter.
Then just don't say I move. Just say I'm making an amendment.
I'm making a friendly amendment to alter annually to biannually, as the Books for Africa committee is elected every 2 years. So not biannually. 2 year.
I think I can spell by
I'm confused about it.
So it's biannually, as in every 2 years, and not twice every year. Yeah. BIE instead of BIA.
It says BIE. I just changed it. I think, Jordan, you're correcting what's already written correctly. If you'd like to comment, please raise your hand.
I think it's supposed to be annually. It's an annual congress with an A, not an E.
Their argument is that biannual means twice in 1 year, biannually means every 2 years.
Then sorry. Sorry to amend something.
No worries, I appreciate you trying. But being wrong. I was wrong too. Ina.
Twice a year. If you change twice a year, that's.
Ina is by IVSA Estonia. So friendly amendment, it's written biennially. So it's like instead of you, it's an I. Then it's every other year.
Ina, is that what you wanted?
Yeah.
Great.
Change it.
Martha. She's her hand up forever.
Martha, I'm not sure if it's an expert. So this MOU is in effect for 2 years because the Big Books for Africa committee runs for 2 years. So instead of stipulating a time period, it would probably be better to just have it that the portfolio runs for the duration of for the whole duration of the Big Books for Africa. That they have the trust. So I don't know how we worded it previously or how it's worded in the Big Books for Africa constitution, because that would just kind of make it an automatic position. So Peter, I don't know if you have an answer. So I don't know if you have an answer to that. But I don't think we need to clarify something that has already been clarified. If that makes any sense.
Peter?
That is correct. So this contract will be valid for 2 years, starting the 1st of August. The Big Books for Africa chip will be going seemingly in 2020 December. So this portfolio will then be valid for the rest of this specific MOU. So I would agree with Martha to rather rephrase it to make it valid for the term of this MOU and not because after 2 years the collaboration will be reevaluated and the MOU will probably be invaded.
Very good change. Kristen.
Kristen Ibrahim, IVSA Austria. I move to amend the amendment of the amendment to strike out biannually.
I don't know how to strike through, so that's what it looks like right now. Don't worry about it, constantly fine. I got a second, right? Okay, any discussions on removing the word biennially? Any objections? Hearing none, passes. Okay, yeah, we're still doing it though. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns about the highlighted sentence as written? Bold it, not highlighted, it's bold. Shira, what do you think?
I'm not sure if it's just English, but by saying distributing it amongst its members, doesn't that kind of say like giving the same portfolio, giving them each little bits instead of just one portfolio to one person? Like it needs to be one person's responsibility, not all of the 8 members.
Sure, I appreciate this, but it'd be way more helpful if you just fixed it. So, it looks like Ninka's gonna do it for you. Thank you, Ninka.
I think that about IVSA South Africa, I move to
Friendly amendment.
friendly amendment, say the chair of Wetbooks for Africa will be responsible for making this portfolio and distributing it to a member of the committee, the Wetbooks for Africa committee.
Shouldn't it be to the IVSA liaison?
Yes. No. It is to a member of the Wetbooks for Africa committee.
To a member of the Wetbooks for Africa committee, that's what you said. Okay. Any more? Bold sentence? Not good, go for it.
Martha IVSA expert. No, I need to think. I'm going to amend the amendment to read the chair of the Wetbooks for Africa committee will be responsible for creating this portfolio for the duration of this MOU and distributing, and strike a full stop and then striking out the rest of that sentence.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Comment on adding in the little words that I changed and removing the sentence at the end. The team on.
The team on my end, IVSA South Africa, friendly amendment to add B in front of Wetbooks for Africa. Sorry. Yeah, there we go.
Krista.
Because Abraham, IVSA Austria, did we not just clarify that we don't need the creating it for the portfolio for the duration of this MOU because it's just like we make an MOU every 2 years? I'm confused.
Are you just saying that it's implied because it's in the MOU already?
Yeah, because we just strike out biannually because we just spoke about that it is only for the duration of the MOU. So I'm just confused. Sorry.
Okay, Jessica. Keep in mind that how this works is if you actually don't want this, you want to go backwards, you have to, when I say that are there any objections, you have to object, and you have to vote no to go backwards. You know what I mean? Or you have to keep amending it.
No, I just have a point of
I was
information.
just talking in general. You're good.
Right. Jessica Kramer, IVSA Germany, point of information. Could the chair clarify why in the first part of part 10, it says just a committee member, but now we're amending it to be the committee chair? And if the person amending is aware of that?
I can. I think that in the first part, they're saying who is given the portfolio as obviously liaison. This next part is talking about who creates that portfolio. So the chair of That Books for Africa creates the portfolio, and then it is given to the IVSA liaison, who is a member of that Books for Africa committee. They're all nodding, so I'm nailing it. Martha.
Martha Yana, IVSA Exco. I move to amend the amendment to the amendment to the amendment, right? Am I right?
Go for it.
To strike out the words for the duration of this MOU, so that it reads, the chair of the Vet Books for Africa committee will be responsible for creating this portfolio. Full stop.
Strike out which part and stop listening.
Full stop after portfolio and strike out everything after that. Period. Second.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Any discussion on striking out for the duration of this MOU? Any objections to striking out for the duration of this MOU? Hearing none, it's removed. That was too many layers deep. It made me uncomfortable. Okay, thank you. We're back to this now. So the amendment that we're on is adding in the word committee here and making it creating, and then removing this part. You guys understand that? We're on amendment to the amendment, and it's removing that last sentence and changing those two words. Any comments on that? If you don't like it, I'll do something about it. Okay. Are there any objections to the amendment to the amendment? Hearing none, motion passes. We're still going though. Okay, so now we should be here. Okay, so now we're back to the amendment, I think. So, are there any comments or questions on the complete bolded point 10? Crystal.
So everyone is your friends. Point of information. I just want to know if the committee member holding the portfolio will be part of the trip.
The whole
7 weeks.
The whole Vet Books for Africa board goes on the trip.
Okay, I just
So
want to know.
yes, I'm really guessing here. Not part of it, but it's going okay. Okay. Any more questions from?
Glenn again, IVSA Ghana. I wanted to ask whether there will be an order of communication between the liaison, the IVSA South Africa board member, and the MOD, so as to prevent confusion during communication.
Okay, thank you. There's questions about the triangle of communication between IVSA South Africa, IVSA Global, and Vet Books for Africa. So if anyone wants to get us.
I'm very well, IVSA South Africa. So just to clarify that, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be in order. I think the importance of the IVSA liaison person is to communicate with the IVSA South Africa in, like, for example, every time we come on a congress or a symposium, that there's communication between them for bringing back books or goods that IVSA is sponsoring, and then the communication between the IVSA liaison person and the MOD is for something else, and for the reason that we have the relationship between IVSA and Bedbooks.
Thank you, Anika. Tina, keep it going.
I'd just like to add to the, sorry,
You're wearing half a pair of glasses.
I am.
Okay, you do you.
Fatima Mayes, IVSA South Africa. I'd just like to add to the discussion. While the chairperson of Bedbooks for Africa is creating this portfolio, I think that it's important that it should be stipulated, as we mentioned earlier, there has been minimal communication between Bedbooks for Africa and IVSA South Africa, so much so that to the point where no one realized that there was an involvement between IVSA Global and Bedbooks for Africa. So it should be stipulated that the kind of contents of this portfolio needs to be worked on together with IVSA, whether it be global or South Africa, so that the kind of manual on what IVSA would like to achieve on the trip and what needs to be met can be put into this portfolio, because the chairperson can't create a portfolio if they don't know much about that relationship, which seems to be apparent currently.
If I understand correctly, you're saying you would like the portfolio to be created in conjunction with IVSA South Africa. Fatima, how would you feel about saying, I move to amend the amendment to say that, so I can write it and then we can do this? I move to amend the amendment.
I move to amend the amendment. Sorry. There we go. This portfolio in conjunction, IVSA South Africa.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion on? Just the part that's not bolded. Any objections? Hearing none. Putting it back in. Okay. So now we're discussing the complete amendment to the MOU as written there, with all of our amendments. Meryl?
Meryl Knops, IVSA in Belgium. Point of information. I was just wondering, since we're now editing stuff where's in the MOU, what happens if Books for Africa doesn't accept our changes?
It's a good question.
Okay, so once we, as a general assembly, approve this, it will be presented to the South Africa committee, and then when if they approve it, it will be signed. If not, it will be amended. It will be presented again at the next symposium in Morocco, which will take out a big chunk of the collaboration between now and then. So that might happen. We don't know. Hopefully not. And also just to clarify the communication aspect between the South Africa and IVSA Global. As I've mentioned earlier, it has been streamlined between myself and Charlotte, and not the MOD team. The new Bedbooks Africa team was quite recently selected, and we've only worked on this MOU very recently. That's hence why the communication with the new team might have, some members in the new Bedbooks Africa team might not have been aware of this IVSA team, but the past committee were all very well aware of this collaboration. So it's maybe just where the confusion comes in is with the newly elected members, because we were mostly in communication with the chair and the vice chair, and that information may have not been redistributed because the MOU is not finalized.
Any more comments on the amendment to the MOU? Meryl?
Meryl Knops, IVSA in Belgium. Another question for people involved with this. How big are the chances that Books for Africa is not going to accept these changes? Because it would be a shame if we have to postpone our cooperation with them for half a year.
Thank you. Shira, you had your hand up and I called on you. You can just say you don't want to talk or not to.
Sure, Samson, IVSA South Africa. To reply to you, I think that the chance is very little because they have a lot to lose with regards to money and international support. And they are, since they're just starting out their term, they need as much help as they can get.
Thank you. Peter?
So currently with the Wetbook South Africa team, they don't have this title. So they don't have, sorry, they said it's currently they don't have the title, but back in the 2016-2017 committee that we served, there was a title. The Wetbook South Africa team that was called community charities and charities and IVSA liaison. Maybe not the exact title, but there was a committee member assigned to the collaboration for IVSA that got removed or didn't get reinstituted with the next committee. So to answer your question, I don't think they will reject this change, but it might happen. I don't know.
Okay, any more questions or comments on the amendment to the MOU? Are there any objections to the amendment to the MOU? Seeing none, motion passes. Is there any more discussion on the approval of the MOU? The friendly amendment changing Ellen's name at the bottom. Consider it done. It's not actually done, but it's done in my brain. I'll do it right now. Correct amendment? I think I did it. Daniel?
Depending on IVSA Exco, if we choose the president for the term 2018-2019, should the Wetbooks for Africa also be the corresponding term?
Or do you know that they were trying to align to our terms? It needs to be whoever's their president as of August 1st. So do we have the correct person? We have the correct person.
Okay.
Thank you, though. Okay, any more questions or comments on approving of this MOU with Wetbooks for Africa? Any objections to approving the MOU? Hearing none, MOU is approved. Okay. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to go into recess. Kristen? Any discussion on going into recess?
Wait, please.
Is it a discussion about going into recess? Okay. Okay. Any objections? Hearing none, we're in recess. Please don't leave. They have an announcement.
Hi guys, I'm Magdalena from OC about sport day. So if you didn't check your name on the list in front of the lecture room, I would like you to check it. And there are I think 4 groups of teams. You have a team, and every team is 6 people, so you should find those people and please be ready at 4, and it will be fun. Thank you. Lecture starts at 2. That's it. Sport day is here, faculty, in front of the student rooms. Okay? Any questions? Do we need to bring anything? No, no. Please don't wear flip-flops. Okay, that's it. Thank you.